Hello, you most beautiful stars. Courtney here, host of Stars of the Morning Light. And once again, we have Miss Sarah with Intuitive Empowerment. Her name is right below. Also, her links as to where to find Sarah, because you're going to want to after this, are all in the description. Oh, Sarah, thank you for joining us again.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
I have to say, Sarah, not just after the first video that you and I did, it just seems to happen. Then I get a lot of emails or texts or DMs of, hey, Courtney, do you know about this? Do you know about that? And one of the most common ones is human design. And I think it is because it's building and traction, or it's building. It's people are now getting the word. Even old folks like me, where they're getting the word out there. Um, so that, ladies and gentlemen, you beautiful stars, we're dedicating this entire episode to what is human design, because every time I get a text or DM, Sarah, I have to say no, I don't know anything about it. I admit when I don't know, and I don't know. So I don't even know where to start. But you're more of a profession. You're a professional in it, right?
I am a student of human design, and I've gotten to a place where I feel comfortable enough to share what I've learned. So I don't know if professional or like master or teacher fully fits when it comes to human design because I still feel like I'm a student of the system as well, but I do feel
Yeah.
confident enough to at least talk about the basics of it.
Okay, excellent. Which she is doing, well, actually this will probably air after you are live doing one in Chattanooga. So she does know, guys. She's out there spreading the word in many different forms, as we're going to learn today. So Sarah, where I am your average Joe. Hit me with it. What is human design?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to start with how I came across human design first, because it's been a few years now since I first heard about human design. I was listening to the Yoga Magic podcast, and my friend Ashley is the host of that show, and she had on a human design leader, a human design teacher. And human design is similar to astrology in the sense that you need your birthday, your birth time, your birth location, and
Okay.
then it produces a chart, just like your natal chart in astrology. So I'm someone who loves personality quizzes, archetypes, Myers-Briggs, Enneagram.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that this is another thing like this, I was intrigued, right? My ears perked up. And I liked the idea that instead of it being based off of like a test that you take, like the Enneagram and Myers-Briggs, that it's more so like astrology in the sense that it was something that you came into the world with, something that it's very unique to your birthday, your birth time. And so I was intrigued, right? And I went down the rabbit hole. I listened to this episode. And when it got to my particular type in human design, so in human design, there are 5 types. When she got to the type that my chart was saying that I was, it was as if everything she was saying was a mirror for what I knew to be true about myself, but I never had the words. I never had the
Oh,
clarity. I never had the framework. And that is powerful when it comes to human design or any other framework that you find or word that you finally find to describe something about yourself that you could never quite pin down before.
yeah. Yeah.
So when I was hearing her describe my type, I'm a projector in human design. Everything she was saying, it was like a little weight was being lifted off of my chest, off of my shoulders. And I took an exhale at the end of that, and I felt very emotional because I realized all of the ways that I was believing what the world was telling me I should be, how
Oh,
I should navigate certain decisions, how I should operate at work, how I should interpret the world. And I was like, wrestling with that for almost 30 years.
Yeah.
So that's how I found human design, was through a friend of mine, through a podcast, and specifically my type just really hit home with me. And so from there, I started listening to all the podcasts I could find, videos I could find, blog posts that I could find, books that I could read.
Sarah,
And
may I ask,
please,
did
yeah.
that feeling give you um a sense of peace, but also a sense of allowing, like, this is who I am then. I don't need to do the shoulds. This is it, all the words that you received gave you that allowance to just be you in a
It
way.
it planted that seed, right? It wasn't like an overnight thing where then the next morning I'm like, oh, I've released all of that. But it planted that seed of hope that it was possible. And it set me on this experiment. That's what I really like about human design, is that it's meant to be an experiment. It's meant to be something that you try, that you put into practice, and you integrate what works and you release what doesn't fit. Human design should not feel like a box. It should not feel like this is what you are, and if you don't fit exactly into this, you're doing it wrong. It's
Okay.
meant to be a system that you try. Um, and so I really like that about it. It's not meant to be this big T truth. It's meant to be a framework. It's meant to be a blueprint that you can experiment with, play around with. Um, and so that's what I did. And it's been, a few years now that I've been experimenting and implementing these principles. So on one hand, it planted that seed of, okay, I can release the shoulds. I can be who I've always known that I could be. But on the other hand, it was giving me practical and applicable things to push myself further, right? To kind of experiment and explore myself. It's a self-exploration tool. It
Oh,
really
okay.
helps you to excavate the self. And you hear a lot in human design the word deconditioning. It's this idea that we come into this world exactly who we are, exactly who we're meant to be, but then we're conditioned
Hmm.
to care about what society thinks, what our family thinks, what our friends think. And so human design gives these tools to decondition what you've picked up along the way. And each layer of deconditioning that you do, it's like you're getting closer and closer to that self, and I say self meaning that inner guide, that inner wisdom, the part of you that has always known what's true for you before the world told you to doubt yourself.
Right.
Uh, So
Wow.
that's how
Okay.
I found
Whoa, that's a, yeah, everybody
you.
take a breather.
Right,
Everybody
right,
take a breather. Um, so we know, so now we know at least what it's there for.
you're right.
What, in a very big nutshell, kind of what it's there for. And I do get why it's probably not just your birth date and stuff as to why with astrology there are, the way you feel about human design is really how I feel about birth charts. And I know
Mhm.
some people that take it way too far as to this is you and it's not going to change and blah, blah. But those are really blueprints as well. So I see where people's comparisons are coming into play. Um, but just by what you were saying just now, like the terminology is vastly different. So can you explain a little bit of the history as to what, like, this is more new age, right?
For sure.
Which everyone out there, you beautiful stars, I tend to say stuff about new age. This is not what I'm talking about. I do appreciate new age, if it's healthy and good for people. Right.
Yes.
So, where did it come from?
Yes, so it has a very mystical, mysterious entrance into our space. So human design is a completely channeled system.
Oh,
so a completely
Okay.
channeled system. This came about in the 80s. Um, a man who goes by Ra Uru Hu found himself on the coast of Ibiza and out of nowhere started hearing what he calls the voice. Okay.
Okay.
And the voice was channeling this system of human design through him. So he just went
Okay.
on this deep dive of downloading, channeling, and getting this out onto.
Huh.
And the way that he talks about this is like, this isn't something he asked for. This isn't something that he was looking for. This isn't something he would have considered himself capable of, but it happened.
Yeah.
And he came back with this information and started sharing and teaching. And the system claims to synthesize a lot of ancient wisdom and tradition. And so I think it's very important to talk about that. Um, Astrology is a huge piece of the human design puzzle. A lot of people refer to human design as the new science of astrology. So it's taking science and understanding of quantum mechanics and infusing it into astrology. But it also pulls from Chinese tradition. It pulls from I Ching, the Book of Changes. It pulls from the Indian tradition with the chakra system. It pulls from the Jewish mystical tradition with the Kabbalah. And so I don't know whether Ra'uru channeled this or what, right? Like, who am I to know the
Right.
truth?
You weren't on the beach with them. Yeah. Yeah.
But what I do know is that no matter how the information was birthed into the world, we need to address that the ancient traditions of those systems have been around long before a white man
Yeah.
claimed to have now synthesized them all together. And so when I talk about human design, I like to point out that there is concern around cultural appropriation there. And when I'm offering readings and information, I'm offering my understanding of a very modern, new age tool. And I think it's worth looking into each of those ancient traditions and going deep with those and not just taking human design as like, oh, well, I understand the Kabbalah now. Oh, I understand the chakra system.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I understand. It's like these systems are very, very in depth. And so it's meant to be, according to Ra, a synthesis of those traditions. Um,
Okay.
it takes what he, understood about each of them and fuses them together. So,
Can you state those three again for me?
yeah,
The which
well,
ones were they?
so it's
And
more than three.
astrology.
Astrology. So each planet corresponds to a line in the I Ching, which produces your gates in human design.
Okay.
So astrology, I Ching, which comes with the hexagram lines, the Kabbalah, so the tree of life shape and system. Um,
Okay.
what am I leaving out? The chakra system.
And the chakra
So
system.
in human design, there are 9 energy centers. And so that's how that is infused there. And then there's an understanding of quantum mechanics, which is way over my head. Um,
Okay.
but the way that I interpret that is we're all energy, right? So this understanding of energy is moving in us, and that energy on a very that energy is condensed into these energy centers, and then that can produce different ways of operating in the world.
And I see it as like just based off what you're saying is that, this is for me who I came in with. This is what I carry before the world got all in my head. that the quantum stuff, the all of that that you just spoke about, would be the energy that I actually carry.
Mhm.
That's how I would see it. So your energy, and we all get that, and the viewers here at Stars of the Morning Light, they get it. That your energy is different than mine, Sarah, and mine is different than everybody else's. That's how it'd be more identifiable. Is that's what I'm kind of taking in as how that would operate in that system. Wow. Okay. I thank you for repeating those because I knew the audience also wanted you to repeat them too, just in case. Um, I have some audience members that read a lot and knows things, and then I have some that really love to just know about everything, and we want to cater to everyone. So, um, when you do a reading, this is maybe a little bit off topic, but still on human design. When you do a reading for someone, do you have a lot of people that go, "Well, what does that mean in that ancient way?" Or do they, you see what I'm saying?
I
Do they
wish.
expect you to know all this ancient text? Do they expect you to be
No, they
excited
don't
about
expect me to, and
Okay.
they don't ask those questions, and that's why I am concerned. Um,
Okay.
and
Okay.
that's why I say I'm a student of this. It's because I don't know the ins and out even of the human design system. When I say that this is some in-depth stuff, like just like with astrology, right? You start with your sun
Yes.
sign.
Right.
And then you realize there's 3 major placements. Then you realize there's even more personal placements. Then you realize there's houses and there's transits and there's all these things. Human design is the same way. There are so many layers.
Where?
And
Okay.
I don't even feel like I've fully explored my own chart in that way. So then to say that I've also kind of brought in every single one of these ancient traditions would just be false.
Right.
But I wish I was getting that question more often. I wish that people were concerned about the roots of the system. I wish that I was being held more accountable by the community. But here we are, and we can only take it one step at a time. And even the fact that we're talking about it is a step in the right direction.
Right.
I would say the one system I probably get the most questions, or if any questions, would be the chakra system. Just because most people have heard of that or have seen it or have, experienced yoga or experienced Reiki. So they hear
Yeah.
that word chakra and they have some sort of working knowledge around
Some
it.
exposure to it. Yeah. Something.
Right, but I
Okay.
don't get much question about the I Ching or the Kabbalah, and I wouldn't feel qualified to really answer that. So that's where I'm at now. If there are people listening that have resources on, Jewish people
Oh, I
who
have resources, Sarah, right over my bookshelf. Come on over.
really, I am committed to reading the I Ching. I'm committed to reading about the Kabbalah, but I would also love practitioners that I
Yeah.
could point people in the direction of, like, hey, human design is great. It's modern. It's a new tool for self-exploration. But if you're looking for ancient spiritual wisdom, go see so and so for your, Kabbalah information. Go
I
see.
might actually have resources for you, Sarah. Yeah.
Beautiful. I would love.
Um, so I want to put that out there though, guys. So that's why, I don't just interview anybody, right? Um, that's what I love about Sarah, is that she's understanding and humble in to saying that I don't know the depths of the system alone with where all the roots are from. That's my journey. I'm continuing, I'm going forth. Um, and it is kind of for me personally, that would be alarming too. For if I had a bunch of clients that weren't asking me what's the background here, or how deep does this go? But that's why I do Stars of the Morning Light. And yeah, definitely, Sarah, I probably have some resources for you. I've gone around if with making context. So what are some of the layers? Like what if I if I contacted you right now, which y'all can, go to the description below, what would I expect from a standard reading? Like, what would I receive?
Yes. So the big three things are your type, your strategy, and your authority. So I like to make sure to cover those three things. And then in a reading, I also address your energy centers and your profile. So I want to start with energy centers. So, like I said, there are 9 energy centers in human design. And when you pull your chart, and you can go to myhumandesign.com, daylunalife.com, Jovian Archive. There are plenty of places to generate a free chart. You'll see these 9 energy centers, and some of them will be colored in, and some of them will be white. So if they're colored in, those are your defined centers. And if they're white, those are your open centers. So the difference between those two, your defined centers, the theory is that those are the places in your energy system where you are creating energy from within yourself and sharing it with the world via your
Oh,
energetic body, your aura, whatever word resonates with you. Um, and that would be consistent for you and authentic for you. Versus the places where you're open in your chart are the places where you're pulling in outside energy, filtering it through that center, and then pushing it back out, amplifying it. So
ah,
those are the places where you are empathetic. Those are the places where you learn a lot because of that conditioning, right? When you're open to conditioning, right? And so those are the centers that you can really get into and excavate and figure out what is mine versus what is the world's. What is mine versus what is my family's belief? What is mine versus what is media conditioned me to believe? So I start by orienting people to their energy centers and which ones are defined for them versus which ones are open for them.
oh, that's it's interesting that you said that because actually one of our girlfriends and I were having the same conversation the other day. That she's now at that place that she needs to actually be able to pinpoint that stuff. What
Mm.
is mine versus what was given to me, or what did I take in? What is my family's? What were my parents? What is the conditioning in me? She wants to go deeper and start defining it.
Mm.
I don't even know what to say, honestly, because I know about a year ago or so, or somewhere along the line, I had pulled up some stuff and I saw my little circles, my little energy, um, of as far as like what's colored and what's white, and I had no idea what those white ones were.
Mm.
But it just said open, and I'm like, open? I'm not open. So that's my first thought. But if that's what it is, I'm gonna have to go back and look at it because we all have that. We all have it. So in a reading though, are you able to pinpoint more of, because of the location in this human design, is it more like your influence is this way, or you give out this way? This would be really good for you to give this way, that kind of details?
Yes. So the 9 centers are crown, ajna, throat. There's 2 pieces of the heart. So the G center and the will center, the sacral, the spleen, the solar plexus, the root. So depending on where those are open versus defined, it would give you more specific information. So are you picking up emotions? Are you picking up thoughts? Are you picking up inspiration? Or are you picking up pressure to do something? So it would just depend exactly what you said on the location and which ones are open versus which ones aren't.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. Guys,
So
this is so we can all get equipped as to what human design is. Do remember that. So keep going, Sarah.
Yeah, so the next piece of this then would be type. So in human design, there are 5 different types, 5 different categories. This is the umbrella, right? So think if your sun sign in astrology is just one piece of the puzzle, right? Your type is one piece of the puzzle, but it's a pretty big piece, right? Your sun sign is important. So this is like overall type. Um, and within those types, there are energy beings and non-energy. So what does that mean?
You beautiful stars out there, you're all energy. Go ahead, Sarah.
Yes, yes. Because when you hear that, it's like, okay, that feel limiting. So what does that mean? So that means that most people have that sacral center defined. Most people fall in that energetic category. The sacral center in human design functions as a motor in the body. It creates energy. It creates the life force. It creates that
Yeah,
energy that wants to create something. Okay.
yeah.
So in human design, most people on the planet have that sacral center defined and have access to that creative life force energetic motor. So
Right.
those would be your generators and your manifesting generators in human design. But then there's a smaller portion of the collective that falls into what human design calls this non-energy type, where that sacral center is not defined. So that's open and empathetic. So to your point of we're
Oh,
all energy, absolutely, because we're picking up that creative life force, we're picking up that motor, we're picking up that,
yes,
and we have other centers that are creating energy. But
yes.
it's just that motor to do that won't be consistent for these other types. So that would be projectors, manifestors, and reflectors. So
Okay.
these,
Can I slow you just for a moment?
sure.
All these terms are kind of new to people. And when projector and generators and this and that. So I know you're going to go into it. Guys, just bear with the words because for me, that's what would throw me off is the terminology. And I think I'm tracking with you well enough. So when you continue to explain, I think I'm tracking and I think other people are tracking. But do know, guys, pick up the words that she's saying as far as the term.
Yes, that's why I offer classes and readings for that purpose. All of the terms, all of this new language, all of the structure.
Yeah,
I wanted to take the time to learn it all, right? But
right.
maybe everybody doesn't want to. So to have like the quick hits of type, strategy, and authority can be really helpful. So, okay, we talked energy, which just means that sacral center is putting off motor energy, generators, manifesting generators, and then manifestors, reflectors, and projectors are the other 3 types. So I'll break down those types with just a quick hit of the difference among them all. So generators, the thought here is that generators are in this incarnation to bring that life force to the planet, right? So if the majority of people on the planet are generators or manifesting generators, if people who have this information started following their joy, what lights them up, the things that make them want to create, the things that give them that fire and that passion and light up that sacral center for them, imagine the collective shift that we could have, right?
Right.
Versus if we have a collective of generators who are saying yes to things they really want to say no to, putting the weight of everybody else's problems on their shoulders, working for the grind versus working for that creative life force.
Right.
All of a sudden, what happens with generators is emotional burnout, exhaustion, using that motor of energy to further other people's plans and other people's dreams versus what really lights them up, right? So if we had more generators stepping into life force, stepping into creativity, stepping into joy, all of a
Right.
sudden the collective benefits from that because it's
Oh,
overflowing. It's overflowing to everyone. It's that saying that we hear so often of you've got to keep your own cup full
yeah.
before you can overflow to other people.
I do know I'm a manifesting generator. That I
Yes,
do know.
yes, yes, yes. I
Um,
remember talking to you about that.
yeah,
And a manifesting generator falls under the generator category, but it's a little bit different. Um, so yeah, generator types in general are meant to follow the joy, follow the passion, follow the creativity, say yes to the things they want to say yes to, say no to the things they don't. And when you're in that space, your energetic body becomes really welcoming, really inviting, really magnetic. So then what makes a manifesting generator just a little bit different is a manifesting generator can really spread that life force, that creative energy over many, many, many passions, many projects, many different things can light a manifesting generator up, and it's not linear, right? The world conditions us to be linear, and manifesting generators break that box, break that barrier, and they work in this, I'm using air quotes, I'm glad this is video,
yeah, quote
work
unquote.
in a messy way, like bouncing all over the place and jumping from one thing to the other. And that's how it's meant to be for manifesting generators.
Yeah,
Um, Manifesting generators work a lot faster than the rest of us. And sometimes that means there's skipped steps, but that's okay because you can always go back and come
yeah,
back to that step or delegate that step to someone else or whatever. But for manifesting generators, it's still about the life force. It's still about that creative, what lights you up, but it's about not putting yourself in a box. Work all over the place. Spread yourself amongst the things that make you really happy and passionate. And when you work faster than other people, use the time that you save in all of that efficiency to rest,
the
to
rest.
enjoy.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
put in more things on your plate.
Yes, world Sarah has to remind me that all the time. Courtney, you actually need to rest. It doesn't mean just because you got everything done doesn't mean to just start something more, to keep doing more. Just rest, Courtney. So yeah, yeah. I actually get that I get that question all the time, Sarah. And maybe I can just start saying this to people. Well, it's because I'm a manifesting generator. Um, Everybody goes, "Whoa, we don't really know what you do, Courtney. You're over here this, you have a YouTube channel, you have a Patreon, you're putting on events, you're doing this, you're doing that." They're like, "We don't really know what do you do?" And my answer is always, "I do it all, don't I? You just listed all that I do." Um, but for others, that seems very chaotic. That seems unspecialized.
Mm,
That seems this and that when it's no, I actually thrive doing it this way, you know. Um, so the other three, though, I have a feeling those are your empath, your more common empaths, possibly. So get into those.
for sure. So I will speak to my type as a projector here. So I'm falling into this non-energy category. So projectors do not have that sacral motor. Projectors are here to be the guides, to really lean into how they see things and less about how they do things. So the gift of the projector is how deeply it can see into the other energy types or just other people in general, that empathy that you're talking about. So projectors really they oftentimes feel a bit different because of the way that they see things. And it's not just people that projectors can see into, it's systems as well. So walking into a new workspace or a new project and pretty quickly being able to see these are your pain points. These are the ways that you could do this better. These are the pieces of advice that I have for you. And pretty quickly that happens for projectors. But then what happens is maybe the person running that project wasn't ready for your advice. Maybe the new friend that you've just made doesn't want to be seen so clearly. Maybe they like being in their shell. Maybe they like kind of having that guard up. So for a projector to like insert themselves into leadership, into that guide space, into kind of being the leader that they naturally are, it can repel people and it can
Right.
repel opportunities. And so the key for a projector is to wait for an invitation.
Oh,
Wait to be invited to lead. Wait to be invited for guidance. Wait to be invited to give your opinion on something. And that benefits both. It benefits you as a projector because you're not spending the little bit of energy you have to spin your wheels and not get any kind of outcome. And then for the other person, it gives them the space to come to the decision on their own that they would like that guidance, that advice, that wisdom. And that can feel limiting for a projector if you don't fully understand that that doesn't mean that life is passive. That doesn't mean you're sitting around twiddling your thumbs, waiting all the time. Use that energy that you have to learn, to hone your craft, to be seen. In order for a projector to be invited, people have to know that they exist in the first place or to be seen. So
oh,
put yourself out there, like initiate the things that are just about your own energy. But when it comes to other people, when it comes to sharing the advice, the leadership, the guidance, that's where you wait. When it comes to building your own business, creating the website, doing the blog, putting your name out there, that's just your energy. So follow that, but wait for the invitation when it comes to other people.
Sarah,
Um,
may I ask, just out of the years of you doing this, have you noticed there's a whole lot of projectors that you come in contact with? Because I just kind of thought of the people that might be in the chat right now and some other folks that might catch this on the flip side. Um, I think they would all resonate with that a lot, what you just said. So, is there sometimes one that might outweigh another as far as when you do readings, you come across more projectors than not?
I come across mostly generators and manifesting generators, but because I'm a projector myself, I really like working with other projectors. So I have like a one-on-one program specifically for projectors. So I want to
Oh,
call in more projectors. The two human design offerings that I have is like the reading for anybody and then the coaching specifically for projectors.
oh, Sarah, there's probably some projectors listening right now. I can almost guarantee it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean it's because it's my type, I feel the most I guess in-depth understanding of that type
Right.
naturally.
Right.
So, yeah, I love working with projectors, and I do get a projector every now and then through general readings and through classes. But I think mostly in like my community and my friendship circles, I've noticed that I gravitate towards projectors. So I more so find them in my personal life and not as much in like my readings and things like that.
Right. Okay.
But according to human design, projectors make up about 20% of the collective.
Oh. Oh, wow. You have percentages.
Yes. So again, generators and manifesting generators would be the highest percentage. I think it's something like 70% of the population. I have it right here. I can
Oh, wow. I was not expecting that.
70% are
Yeah, guys.
in the generator category. Yeah,
That's who's supposed to bring in the new earth. Like, get everybody rolling.
for sure. For sure. And the thought in
Yeah.
human design is over the course of humanity, those percentages are different, right? So
Right.
like there's a thought that like early collective energy would have been more the reflector type. So I guess naturally we can talk about reflectors. Listen to this. Reflectors, Courtney, are completely open. No defined centers at all.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I sorry, I might have met some of them. Okay, now explain to me.
So
Completely open.
reflectors are no defined centers at all. Reflectors make up 1% of the collective. Um, reflectors, they are meant to be, like the name suggests, the mirrors for us as a collective. So when a reflector walks into a community, a room, a workspace, a family, because they're so open, they're going to reflect that space back to the group, right?
Yeah,
So the key for reflectors is to pick wisely, choose wisely, choose the people that encourage you, inspire you, align with you to surround yourself with. Talk about an empath, right? Like
yeah.
completely open to outside influence. And this is not a hindrance. This is a superpower to be that in tune with the world, the
Yeah.
collective nature. So reflectors are very tied to the moon cycle. So the thought,
I was just thinking that. Go ahead, Sarah.
because a more advanced piece of human design is that not only are we picking up energy from each other, but we're picking up energy from transits as well. So that piece of astrology is there. So for reflectors, they would be very in touch with that, the transits, with the collective energy, with the moon. And so reflectors are meant to take their time, lots of time to feel into other people, time to make decisions. Really give yourself that full cycle of the moon for you to go through all your cycles over a 30-day period or however long. And
Wow.
really, again, choose wisely. Um, reflectors, if we gave them the platform to let us know how we're doing, it could be the key to unlock a lot of different things that is going on, like bringing reflectors in and truly trusting that empathy, like truly trusting the gift that empathy is to show us the way. Reflectors have that superpower to do that.
So I have to say, Sarah, and everybody here knows, so I can say it, and we have not done a reading for my husband with Sarah, but just by what I'm listening, I'm a manifesting generator, we know. He's a double Cancer. He might be a reflector. Do you know how many times when I'm too close to all sorts of subjects or I'm too close to this and that, that I have to turn to my husband and go, hey, babe, how do I feel about this? Because he knows more than I as to what am I feeling? Because I'm just doing and doing and going and going, or I might be too close and I need to keep doing and doing. That I turn to my husband and go, uh, you know better than me right now. How should I feel? What am I feeling? What's going to happen with all, what am I feeling right now? Which I know sounds very odd to people, but it might not if that might be the scenario.
Yeah, I mean, even if he's not a reflector, he could just have a lot of open centers in
Yeah,
general
oh,
and
I'm sure he
could
does.
be very empathetic for sure. And yeah, it doesn't sound odd to me at all, especially with, like someone that you trust, right? Someone
Right,
that you feel that safe space in.
right.
Um, so yeah, I would be curious for
Yeah,
sure.
I'd be curious. Yeah, yeah. Especially when you said, ruled by the moon, I was like, he's nothing but the moon. And I'm nothing but the sun. See what happens in this household? Um, okay, so we did projectors, reflectors. Who's the third party?
Manifestors. Okay,
Oh,
so
okay.
manifestors make up somewhere, I think it's like 9% of the collective. Manifestors are are initiators. Manifestors are the ones who blaze the trail, who speak things into existence, right? They have that throat center defined, but they don't have that sacral motor. So the way that this works, manifestors are on or off. Manifestors work in cycles. Manifestors, they use that fire when they feel it to initiate, create the things, move us forward. But then when they're in their off cycle, they're more like the projector and the reflector in the sense of extra rest, extra downtime, let go of the pressure to do. Um, Manifestors are in human design tough to read. Okay. A manifestor's aura is going to be tough to see past. And I find this to be true as a projector, right? My gift is to see really deeply and really clearly. When I'm around a manifestor, it's tough. It's tough for me to know. And it all happens so subtly, right? My empathy works subtly, where it's like I'm so tapped into what somebody's feeling or what they're thinking, and they're not saying what they're feeling and thinking, but I can feel it and I can hear it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to a manifestor, it's like there's a veil. It's
Oh,
like there's this protection around manifestors. So it's important for a manifestor to realize that and to know it's not that people don't want to get to know you. It's not that people don't want to see you. You've got to speak. You've got to inform. That's the manifestor strategy.
okay.
Inform what's going on. What's in your mind? What's in your heart? What's in your feelings? Because it's hard for us to see it. It's hard for us to read it. So manifestors are meant to get really comfortable using their voice. I have noticed in my work that a lot of manifestors are writers because if they can't speak it, at least they can write it. At least
Yeah.
they can like inform via putting a pen to paper. So the rest of the types are kind of really meant to let life come to them, right? So for a generator and a manifesting generator, you're meant to kind of stay in tune with your environment, respond to what's around you. For projectors, right, waiting for the invitation. For reflectors, waiting for that lunar cycle. For manifestors, it's like, no, when you have that instinct to do something, when you feel that fire to initiate, go for it.
Awesome.
But the thing about that is they don't have the energy of the generators and the manifesting generators. So they have to tell people what they're trying to create because they need people to help, right? They need a team of people to get on board. The way that I've heard this described is like a manifester when they're in that on cycle is like a train just blazing through all the train stops. So the purpose of informing and speaking is to stop at every train stop, to
Right.
let the people at the stop know this is what I'm about. This is the barriers that I'm breaking. This is the life that we're creating. Do you want to get on board and help me out with this? It's that kind of that understanding that manifestors are here to initiate, but they need everyone else as well. Like
They
it's not
yeah.
just
If you have
a
a dream, find a team, and
exactly.
they need to. Yeah, okay, I actually really understand what you're saying there. Definitely. So those are the five. What did you title those? Those are the five categories, like the huge
Types.
types, the five types. But then there were like two other. So we already talked about the energy centers. We talked about the five types. The other was authority, wasn't it?
Strategy and authority. So strategy I hit on, but I'll run back. So for generators and manifesting generators, the strategy is to respond. So respond to your environment, respond to what lights you up.
Yeah.
For projectors, it's waiting for the invitation. So that doesn't mean you're living passively. It just means when it comes to other people and when it comes to giving advice, when it comes to, having a partnership or I mean more so in business, you're waiting for someone to invite you into that
Yeah.
space.
Truly read the room.
Read the room, right?
Yeah.
And not every invitation is for you. So even if you are invited, you still have the autonomy to say, but do I want to say yes to that invitation or not?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
As projectors, when they start realizing the importance of the invitation, it's really easy. Oh, I got an invitation. Okay, yes, yes, yes. Okay, but back up. Do you want to do that thing, right? Is that
Right.
aligned? So that's important. For reflectors, it's waiting the lunar cycle, getting in touch with the moon and letting yourself go through all the phases that you need to go through before you make a leap. And then for manifestors, it's to inform. So speak it, write it, express it, let people know what's going on with you because it's tough to read.
Yeah.
Okay.
That reflector, we really are gonna have to look into that because, like with my husband, I know if I have to present something to him, Sarah, I have to give him about 3 weeks to 4 weeks to feel it out. I
Mhm.
need that 28 day. I never even thought about that before, but I just know because 'cause we've been together for so long. I bet you that is a thing. That's gotta be very hard on them in the world
Mhm.
to allow themselves to have that time and for the world or even to speak up for themselves and say, "I need, like, a few weeks,"
Mhm.
to actually come with a decision. So I just wow. You learn something new every day. So that's the response to the and I get the whole respond to the community, respond to your that's all I do, Sarah. That's all I do. Oh, you need something? Okay, let's do it. Because I can do it all. Let's do it. I'll do it real fast. Um, uh, so what's authority though? Because that's kind of the name is a little bit tricky, I think.
Yes. So authority, think of it as your inner authority. So what is it in my body and in my energy that's going to be consistent and it's going to be authentic and I can trust it to make decisions that are right for me.
Ooh,
So your authority is always going to come from a defined center that shows up the loudest in your body. Okay. So for most generators and manifesting generators, their authority is going to be from that sacral center.
yeah.
That shows up like a gut feeling. That shows up like my body is absolutely lit up by this or not. It shows up in that gut instinct. This is not a mind thing. This is a body thing. For some people that have their solar plexus defined, their authority is going to be emotional. So, what that means is every time you're presented with a decision, you're going to have an emotional response first. Let those emotions be felt and pass, come to a neutral space, then make your decision. So, not making an emotional decision, still feeling the emotions, but letting that emotion pass so that then you can get into that gut feeling, that sacral neutral space in your body. Um,
Wow.
for some people, they have splenic authority. This is the authority that I have. So my spleen center is defined, and my spleen center is those are your like just natural instincts. So this is when you just know something to be true. You don't know how you know it because your body is just letting you know. It's similar to sacral in the sense that it's more so in the moment. It's more so, in response to something right then and right there. It can also be your fight, flight, or freeze responses. So it's important to kind of know the difference between what fear feels like versus intuition for the spleen. But it's just this whisper of knowing. It just
Sarah,
comes.
I want to say I believe I had that too. Now that you mention that, because I remember reading it going, that doesn't make any sense. My spleen has nothing to do with it. So okay. So thank you for informing the world. I think there's a lot of people out there that they're going to be the emotional type.
Mhm. Yes. I see sacral authority, that gut feeling, and then I see emotional authority as the two most common.
Okay.
Splenic is less common, but I do see it. Um, for the other ones, we have mental authority, we have self-projected authority, So for those, the mental authority, you have to speak it out what's in your mind so that all of the details swirling up there don't block you from what you know to be true. And the only way to move through that for a mental authority person is to just get it out, write it down, speak it. Again, find the neutral space, then make your decision. Um, for self-projected, it's very similar. You want to listen for your truth when you're talking to other people. So it's not that you want other people's advice, but in order to hear your own truth, it's almost like you don't hear it until you talk it out loud with somebody else. And then when you
Oh,
hear yourself processing externally, you have the answer by the end of the conversation. So that's where finding somebody you trust really comes into play, finding a safe space, and having people hold that space for you to talk it out, for mental and for self-projected authority. It's like you got to get it out of your head and into the world, and then it's almost like you hear your truth through that process.
um, is there any, so, because I know with the program, it goes deep and deep, the layers and layers that you were saying. Is any of that kind of stuff also kind of, it starts intermixing the deeper you go? Because I'm not speaking for everybody that's in the audience, but even myself, I do believe it said that I was the spiral. What did you call it? The what kind were you? The
Me,
sphenic,
splenic.
the splenic. Okay. I believe I was that, but even the one at the end of like having to discuss things to come up with the answer. Do things start mixing together the deeper you go?
For sure. For
Okay.
sure. This is not something that's black and white. Each of those centers have even more subtle energy working in it.
Right.
You're gonna have some, like if you have a mental definition and you have a splenic definition, you're gonna have both going on. That's why I
Right.
said which one is the loudest? Which one is
Okay.
the because you're gonna have both of them come online, but at the end of the day, the idea with authority is who gets the last word. That's
Okay.
that's where that piece comes from. Who gets the last defining word when it's time to make a decision?
Jeez, Sarah, I have to say, I mean, we've already talked. We could keep talking, but she's a busy lady. Um, so when somebody gets a reading from you, they are expecting to really kind of go through a lot of what you talked about more in depth. And there's more to it, guys. Even if you pull up one of those free ones and you look at it like I did, um, you'll have many a questions and many stuff going on. How long does a reading usually entail?
So the human design basic reading that I offer is 1 hour. But then I also have a pretty fun offering with a friend of mine where we're doing joint astrology and human design readings.
Oh,
So she does 30 minutes of astrology and I'm taking notes. And then I'm doing 30 minutes of human design and how I see that astrology playing out in your human design. Um, so if you're wanting to hit two systems in
wow.
one, that's a fun option. If you're wanting to really go deep with human design, yeah, I do hour readings.
Wow. Okay. Wow. I know a lot of people that might be interested in, well, in both. Um, that's all on your website, right?
Yes.
Okay. Sarah, why don't you plug yourself for a minute, darling? Without shame, you plug yourself here. Yes.
Yeah, I have a business called Intuitive Empowerment where I guide my clients back to their inner sovereignty through intuition development. My main modality is hypnosis. So I offer hypnosis, subconscious work, shadow work through that space. But then with my intuitive work, that's where human design comes into play. So working with intuition to offer tarot readings, human design readings, And then the last piece of that puzzle for me is mentorship. So people who are looking for the more in-depth one-on-one approach to intuition development, and anything that I do with mentorship, I'm going to pull your human design chart. That's
Yeah,
just
right.
part of that for me, just like I'm going to look at your natal chart as well. So human design is really infused into a lot of the work that I do.
Excellent. Good, good. So, ladies and gentlemen, you beautiful stars, all of Sarah's stuff is in the description. Please reach out because you can do it this way too. Like if somebody's, anywhere on the land,
Yep.
um, you can get in touch with Sarah. And I that mentorship too, the program of just for projectors, I like that concept. I really do. What's the percentage of projectors out there? I don't remember. What it
It's around 20%.
20%.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think if all the generators understood they need to follow their bliss and joy, and then the projectors were able to do what they need to do, we flippy floppy of the world, we're in the new earth, it's easy peasy. That's how it should be, right?
Yeah, the idea is that we're all meant to work together. Imagine a team
Yes.
where there was one of each type, right? And everybody was in their zone of genius and everybody was doing what they love to do. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds beautiful. It absolutely sounds great. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to at least a very basic human design, the best we could do in about this hour program. Do know that Sarah will be participating with Stars of the Morning Light and or New Earth Energy Market in different ways and forms as we move together into the new earth. And check her out. At least follow her on Facebook, and then from there go to her website, and then from there get a reading, and then from there because let her mentor you. Do something, folks. So I love you all very much, and Sarah, thank you.
Thank you, Courtney.
Yes, ma'am.